Breathe in. Welcome to What the Fuchs with Jess Fuchs. Now breathe out.
And scream.
Because here's what's pissed Jess off this week. Happy Valentine's Day. Yes, it is the Tuesday after, but I'm recording this on Valentine's Day, Friday the 14th, and I'm recording this hot after a doctor's appointment with a woman who confirmed my suspicions. Some of you might have been around for the last couple episodes and might be aware that I am concerned that I am balding, and this doctor confirmed it. She took the final shot to the head on a day when people should be taking shots to the heart and loads to the chin. It's not a good day. And I'm coming right off of that. I left the doctor's appointment and I walked right into my room and I am sitting here just thinking about why and how and what I did to deserve being bald. I've been officially diagnosed as bald as fat, as lumpy, and we'll go through each one of those diagnoses today. But we're going to start with the bald because I've expressed to you that I'm going bald. I've said week after week for the last couple of weeks, I'm going bald, and I've been met with nothing but mockery, nothing but disbelief. Today, I have a medical professional on record saying, yes, you are balding. There is a part of me that feels good because I know I'm not going crazy. And that's what it's felt like. That madness was washing over me and washing the hair off my head. I am sure you are all sick to death of hearing about my balding situation, but I don't know why you tune in if not to hear about how my life's going down the drain, down the shitter. Because every single time I wash my hair, I worry. And I've spent the better part of the last 2 years paying handsomely for Irish women who live in this country and overshare about their personal lives to strip every hair I have from my nostrils down. And I guess the rest of my hair, the rest of my body, my scalp, the follicles, they were like, oh my God, we see a laser. We're going to get out of here too. And so the back of my hair started jumping ship. So when I go to the doctor and I say to her, we have 3 concerns: fat, lump, bald. And she says, okay, let's start at hair. I tell her and she says, okay, about 4 months ago, were you stressed? I'm like, I don't know, probably. I feel like I'm always stressed. And she said, well, you probably have the stress-induced hair loss. And I was like, yeah, I have lost the hair on the back of my head. And she was like, that's where it comes out. Because she was like, I can see you've got hair here and here, but at the back, it's definitely thin. And I was like, so I'm walking around like one of these fucking guys who's balding in the back of their heads but doesn't have the balls, the irony, to actually just shave their head off. So I have a thing called hold on. Well, this is her first thought. I also got a blood test to see if my iron and other shit was fine, but who knows? Okay, the thing she says she thinks I have is called telogen effluvium. I mean, my Latin is perfect. But essentially, okay, it's a common type of hair loss that affects people after they experience severe stress or change to their body. I mean, refer back to point number 2, fat. Body hasn't changed, and we'll dive into that. Symptoms include thinning hair, usually around the top of your head. Treatment exists to reverse hair loss, but hair will typically grow back in 3 to 6 months without treatment. So start your fucking watches, because come August, it's over for you bitches. I'm going to have a mane so full, you're going to have to I don't know what you're going to have to do, but the hair's going to be big, it's going to be fluffy, it's going to be in full bloom, and I will be unstoppable, and it will be over for you bitches. Okay, so really, the main thing she said is that stress. She was like, were you stressed a couple months ago? Usually it's about a 3-month delay. Now, yeah, 3 months ago, if we talk about October, November, December, it was a pretty stressful time. I'm not going to lie, I missed a period. I just thought, I'm really stressed. It came back the next month, so I didn't worry. But she said what happens is your body just, because it's so stressed, it starts to focus all the energy on the other parts of your body that need it more because you're so fucking stressed But then the hair just sort of is like, yeah, we'll take a pay cut for a second, and then it takes 3 months to actually see the impact of said pay cut. What I don't get is, yeah, I'm stressed, but like, I'm not stressed. You know what I mean? And I went to a kinesiologist recently because my friend went and she was like, I think you'd find it funny, like just as a new experience. I honestly don't even know what a kinesiologist is. I mean, she was definitely like doing some weird shit that was not medicine. If I had to explain without knowing technically what it is. So you go in and there's it's like 2 chairs. This is this woman's setup. So it almost feels like pseudo-therapy. You sit in these 2 chairs. She has a notepad, asks you some questions, why you're there, what you want to do. And because I didn't really think this one through that much, I'm just trying to say yes to a lot of opportunities and different things happening because I'm running out of stuff to talk about on stage and in life, because my life is like Groundhog Day every single day. It's the same day, every day. Keep repeating the same thing until you die. My policy for 2025, not resolution, refer to resolutions, to that episode. If you think that this is a fucking resolution, you can watch yourself. Also, I hate my new nail color. I got my nails done, hated it immediately. It's too orange, hate it. But when you're spending all your money on kinesiologists because you're trying to drum up some new material, you can't really be fixing your nails a lot. So this is what I'm stuck with for a month until I'm going white. I'm going white nails. That's my new thing. I'm going to get long claws, white long claws. That's next month's nail choice. But so it's kind of like therapy. You like walk in, there's 2 chairs, and then she asks you a bunch of questions and she said, why are you here? And that's my point. My point is that when I'm saying yes to everything, sometimes when someone goes, what are you doing here? And I haven't really thought about what I'm doing here because I just said yes to something just in case it like sparks some fucking Marie Kondo joy in my life. I was like, I don't know. And she was like, and I was like, I'm kind of just open to it as an experience. I guess that's true. Like I went to a psychic a while ago, also on recommendation. And when she was there, she was like, okay, do you want to talk about anything in particular? I said, nah, just give me a once over. Just give me a tit to taint kind of reading. Tell me what's fucking going on, you know? So you walk in, this kinesiologist, there's 2 chairs, and then she asks a series of questions. What are you doing here? What do you want? And I just kind of kept it really general. I was like, I don't know. You let me know. Like, you pick. And then we kind of deep dived a little into a couple different topics of like things, but like nothing overly like whatever. I did say to her, I've kind of just like always been thick, juicy, fat. Doesn't matter what I've done. So I was like, if you've got any intel on that as a kinesiologist. And she's like, okay. Then you lie down on like a medical bed, and I was lying like back, and then I have my arm up at like, okay, if I'm trying to describe it in case you're listening to this and not watching. So you lie flat on your back, and then with my right arm, I don't know if she ever does left arm, especially since I'm left-handed. I don't know, something to think about. Maybe it's a witch science, maybe it's not real. I don't know because I don't know. Well, we'll get into that. So then I put my arm up at the elbow, and then my hand is kind of down. So you're making, let's call it the letter Z with your arm. Hopefully that helps the visual. Then she asks you questions and kind of does this like in quotes reading while pushing your hand, like the top of your fingers and your like the top of your hand up and down, up and down. And then she was like touching my chest bone, and she was like, well, right out the gate, you're dehydrated. And I was like, right out the gate, watch your fucking mouth. I don't drink anything but water. And I drink like 3 or 4 of these big 1 liters. I think this is 1, if not 1.5 liter a day. And that's where I was like, okay, is this actual real science? Because you could take a leap and assume that anyone is dehydrated. And maybe I am because I sweat. But I don't think I'm dehydrated. But who knows? I don't actually know how. My urine is not yellow. That's the only, I don't know any other signs or symptoms of dehydration except for that. There used to be in school, everyone would pinch the top of the skin, the little knuckle skin. And if it stayed up for a long time, you're dehydrated. But if it goes down fast, you're hydrated. Let's see. Well, I also don't even know how much fold per second should be happening. I don't even know what the right rate of movement is. So that test is also bad. You know what I mean? So then she just goes through a bunch of stuff. At the end, she gave me like some recommendations. And then I was like to her, do I come back? Like, what happens? And she's like, it's up to you. And I was like, but how do I track if this is a real thing? Like, how do I know that you're not doing just like bullshit science? And I guess for her, she already got my money for that 1 session, which is enough to buy a small boat. So, I guess she's just not concerned at all. And fair play on her part. Now let's just do a quick brief Google search of what kinesiologist is. I don't believe that I told her I was balding, and I don't believe I told her I was going grey. I think for some reason did I mention that? I don't think I mentioned that. Kinesiology is a form of therapy that uses muscle monitoring biofeedback to look at imbalances that may be causing diseases in the body. Kinesiology aims to detect and correct imbalances that may relate to stress, nutrition, or minor injuries. Kinesiology is not used to diagnose disorders. Is kinesiology real? Is kinesiology real? See, the problem is I don't really know, how do you verify any of these things? And I think at some point it's like, well, I don't even know if modern medicine is real. Modern medicine is so specialized now. I mean, they have a person who will look at like this one muscle, and then you'll be like, okay, and what about that? And they're like, well, whoa, you can't be asking about your hamstring. I thought you were here for your toe. And I'm like, brother, the hamstring and the toe, they're neighbors. We're all in the same cul-de-sac. Like, can't you just treat this? No, you'd have to go to my colleague. He's the best in the business. Then you go to the hamstring guy, and the hamstring guy tells you, geez, well, you got to check out them knees. Those knees, you got to go to this guy because this guy handles the knees. And then at some point you're like, what are we fucking segregating all these medical practices? I miss the days where doctors used to just get their hands dirty. They'd give you a bottle of whiskey, knock you out, put you on a table in front of a bunch of students and just getting them guts. Now it's this like passing you on to the next person. I'm like, are you really that good at your job if you have to be so distinctly specialized? It's kind of like when I worked corporate, and every rung of this corporate cuck structure had someone else who had to approve something, And then I'm like, who do you blame when something goes wrong? Well, you just blame the next guy, but then never the top guy gets blamed. No, it's always like some mid-level associate who gets fired. And I'm like, this is what happens when you break everything down to such a granular level. Why don't we just get back to this whole picture? These people, these doctors are supposed to be so smart, yet they can't tell the difference between, they can't like work on your thigh and your shoulder. The fuck? It's like, how many bits are in a thigh? You know, there's like the bone, the muscle, some fat, bit of tissue. What, you don't know how to fucking work your way through 4 different types of things? Are you even that good at your job? Also, the body's what, 90% water? You're doing 10% of a job. Grow up. Kinesiology is a real practice that uses muscle testing, but how do we know if it's actually good? You know what I mean? Like, how do we know, like, if it's actually like real? Oh, there's little evidence that kinesiology is effective for diagnosing or treating medical conditions. Okay. But also, this is just AI, and AI can be wrong, so I don't know. And like I said, I'm kind of willing to say yes to anything. Like, if one of you DM'd me and was like, hey, you should go to this thing, it's actually kind of crazy, I'd be like, yeah, fucking sign me up. I'll do it. I've got nothing going on. I'm trying to remain open. So anyway, the kinesiologist was interesting. It was definitely a unique experience. I don't know if and when I need to go back. I also don't know if anything she said will have impact. She said that one of the reasons why, because I was like, I'm always fat. What's that about? And then she pressed a bunch of pieces in my wrist and said to me that my nervous system is really on edge. And that is one of the reasons why it's really hard to lose weight. Doesn't matter what I do, because my body is like tense and holding on to the weight. And I have gone down the TikTok rabbit hole of like all these people saying that they just had years of like yo-yo dieting and stress, being so stressed about their body that when they finally like made peace with their body, like they just found that they could like lose weight, or their body just changed. So maybe there is something to what she's saying. I do get it. I get the idea of like always being anxious about what you're eating, or like whatever it is, like people who are really anxious about anything. And my thing is I get anxious for food and for eating, and like stressed about like, what do I eat? What do I not eat? Because I'm exercising, and if I exercise like this, well, what if I'm not having enough protein? And then, you know, I'm like, oh my God, it's like that meme of the woman where there's all the math in front of her face. And it's like, that's me every time I have to do anything related to like deciding what to eat or to exercise. It's like, I'm like going cross-eyed. So I think that I'm sure all that mental stress has like manifested in my body, and I'm like just stressed. But that'll be this year's thing to unpack. You don't need to worry about that. So the kinesiologist, interesting. Now, the doctor. So I guess we got to the bottom of the balding stuff. That did feel good because I feel like I've been gaslit. Because everyone around me was saying like, no, you're being silly. Your hair's fine. It's fine. My hair changed when I got to 31. You're just losing your hair. No, I was being gaslit. I knew something wasn't right. I knew that I was getting a yarmulke-sized patch behind my head that I couldn't see, yet all of you were looking at me and saying, you're fine, you're being ridiculous. No, I know what's happening. I see the hair drop out of my head. I see it fall to the ground, and I cry and I scream at the fucking sky. I curse the clouds. I do think having a diagnosis, and it's not even like an official diagnosis, is she was just like, I think you could have had this because if you were quite stressed a few months ago, your body. But also, how weak am I that my life is like kind of fucking perfect and good and easy to be so stressed my hair stops growing? I'm like, fucking hell, you wilting flower. Grow some balls, grow a pair, and be a little more robust. Then we moved on to fat. Now, she and I have discussed fat a number of times. And what I've said to her is, like, I'm getting a blood test to see if my hormones or anything, Because I have been going to the gym like a beast. I said to her, me, why fat? And she said, I don't know. And I was like, that's not an answer. So, there's a part of me that's like, well, maybe I'll just go hardcore in the starving direction. But I actually think the problem is because when I went to a dietitian a while ago who did like a full body scan of me, and I think I have told you guys this, but I went to a dietitian maybe October, November, maybe a bit earlier, and she did a body scan and she was like, fucking hell. She literally looked at the receipt of my body scan because it prints out a receipt, and she was like, don't make the sound men make when they see a nice car or a big boat when you're looking at the fucking fat receipt of my body. And she was like, damn, you've got a lot of muscle on that fucking skeleton. So that's the criminal part of all this, is under this layer of fat, this fat suit, I've got thick, juicy muscle. And you wouldn't know it. But I'm strong, bitch. She was like, your metabolism doesn't work at all, which is apparently a common outcome of just like literally years and years and years of like yo-yo dieting and fucking with your metabolism by like starving yourself, not eating enough, eating too much, bouncing back and forth, not figuring out the right combination of things. I mean, I'm literally going dizzy thinking about it. I said to her, I was like, oh, I've been doing all these things, all this stuff. And she was like, look, I don't know what to tell you. And I was like, this is where modern medicine fails, and this is where kinesiology gets its little grips into you when it turns around and it says your nervous system is stressed out. And the doctor's like, I don't know what it is. And then someone else is like, you're stressed out, your whole body's stressed out. And I'm like, ah! Someone put me out of my misery and give me a lobotomy, please. Anyway, I don't know if anyone has this around food, has any food anxiety, but if you do, god damn, do I sympathize, rather empathize with you. It is so exhausting, and it just feels like it is endless. It's like you try to make good decisions about food and it's just never good. It's like never enough. And it's like, God bless any of you who have good genetics. I want you to take a second. We're going to do a minute silence, which always feels so long. Do you remember doing minute silences in school? That shit was fucking torture. You end up looking around at your friends because a minute's never felt so long. It's like, God. But I'm going to take a minute silence, and I just want those of you in this community who are naturally thin or have just half-decent genetics to just really think about how lucky you are. And, like, it doesn't matter what you have felt about your body before or after or forever. I don't really care. But if you are just genetically thin, if you just happen to, like, be naturally skinny, even if you're a little bit thick but you're skinny, still appreciate it. Okay, let's just take a moment. To me, that was a minute. To me, that was a full minute, what we just sat in. Anyway. And then the third and final visit to the doctor, we covered fat, we covered bald. Now we get really deep into lump. I said to her, I've got a lump. And I showed it to my sister the other day because my sister loves nothing more than these three things: lying down, eating sugar, and popping pimples. If my sister could do any of those three things for a full day, it would make her happy. Actually, the other week she did tell me her perfect day is lying down and just doom scrolling TikTok. And this is a doctor. Just something to keep in mind. I show her what I think is a little pimple on the left side of, if I had like a teat line, You know, if you were to follow the nipple line down, like if anyone has seen the meme of when Cats, the musical, came out and all the female cats had breasts, but like human-sized breasts. And then someone was like, well, technically, if you're going to be having those big fucking juicies swanging around, women, girl cats, bitch cats, whatever they're called, they have 6 nipples. So really you should be having 6 juicy titties on the undercarriage. So if you're thinking, just imagine my nipple line going down, and then if you were hitting that middle breast, if I was a cat, and then you kind of swing that around and that's on my back. I have like literally a pimple there. And I showed it to my sister and she's like, oh, there's no, like, I can't pop that. And I was like, oh, yuck, what do I do? And then when I went to the doctor, I said, oh, and can you like do something about this? And she was like, oh, it's like a little cyst. And she was like, you don't do anything about it. She's like, unless it like actually gets big and infected, like, and I was like, okay, well, why don't we cut that bitch out now? She was like, no, because it's literally tiny. And I was like, yeah, but I don't want a lump on my back. And she's like, that's just what happens. And I literally finished our 15-minute medical session by saying to her, so what, you're telling me I just get old, lose my hair and become lumpy? And she laughed and she goes, yeah. And she goes, just wait, I had a kid and my hair's completely fallen out. Aren't you supposed to be making me feel better? Aren't I paying you $120 to make me feel better about myself and to heal me? Not just tell me that all of a sudden as I get older I become like a saggy, ball-ridden, cyst-covered, hairless, fucking wet rag. I literally feel like that character in Toy Story who's lost all of her hair, and she said to me, oh, don't worry, I said, when I said the lump thing, I said, so I'm just going to be a bald, hairy, lumpy little fucking thing rolling around the ground because you don't know why I'm fat and we don't know how to fix that and we don't want to fix the lump on my back, like fucking Hunchback of Notre Dame over here just filled with a sack of fluid on my back and then a hairless little thing. And she just was like laughing at me and I was like, I'm not being funny. What am I paying you for, to laugh at me? I already do that at my therapist office. You're supposed to be fixing me. When I was like grumpy about being a lumpy sack of old woman, she said, well, don't worry because the hair will grow back in 3 to 6 months. And she was like, what you'll notice is it'll get really like hairy around your scalp everywhere. Like you'll get a lot of regrowth and you'll have a lot of hair around there. And then you'll just have hair regrowth. And I was like, so I'm going to look like this? The woman from Toy Story who's got spiky patches of hair, and because you're going to have to cut this cyst out when it officially gets so big and infected. And she was like, it won't happen to everyone. I said, it will happen to me. I know my luck. I know my lot in life. I get a lot of good things in my life and then a lot of bad, and that's how it should be. No one woman should have too much. No one woman should fly too close to the sun. So I get close to the sun in some ways, and then in others I become a lumpy bag of old lady. So when you finally have to cut this lump out of me and I become literally a robot body, I will literally just look like this hairless animatronic doll that is a combination of different pieces that this kid has shoved together as he's gotten older and become evil. So anyway, happy Valentine's Day. Sometimes you don't get answers to the questions you ask. Maybe there'll be someone out there on the 14th of February who says, will you be my Valentine, and doesn't get an answer. And is left single and lonely and sad and horny. And that's how I felt leaving that doctor's office. Okay, well, that was as good as you're going to get from me today because you kind of got the post-nut clarity, the come down after the medical visit, the decompressing of whatever the fuck information I was kind of half thrown at before I was charged all this money. God damn. Before I let you go, we're going to read a couple submissions because I did put a call out for Valentine's Day, hoping I would get a Valentine's Day episode out, but I've been thrown a couple right hooks, if you will. So we'll read these. These will come out a couple of days after Valentine's Day. What you're going to do? We're going to read these. They're all themed around Valentine's Day. Let's get into it. So first submission. It's important to know that someone else is fucking your crush on Valentine's Day. I didn't like read these. I haven't checked them. I've just literally opened the document and have started reading. So that's a good one. That's a strong start. It's important to know that someone else is fucking a crush on Valentine's Day. God, that's a sobering thought. It's also heartbreaking because, you know, I having a crush is just so depressing. Like, but without a crush, I am equally depressed. And so sometimes I'll manufacture a crush just to like keep myself busy and someone to stalk and someone to just like get really in. But I was saying this to a friend the other day. To not have a crush is so miserable. It's just so boring. It's so utterly, I'm like, ugh, bored. But to have a crush is the most painful, depressing, upsetting experience ever, because you're like, do they even give a shit if I live or die? Who do they know me? Are they interested in me? If they are, do I say something? Are they going to say something? It is just the most anxiety inducing experience. It's like, how does anyone ever actually meet anyone and actually fall in love and actually have the balls to say to someone like, I like you? That seems fucking psychotic. It almost feels like the people who are actually in a relationship never had a crush. You know, I don't know anyone who successfully went from like having a crush. Like, I'm talking about like an all-consuming, overwhelming, obsessive crush on someone to like actually making them a partner. I don't think that's a possible pipeline. I think if you're too invested and too obsessed, it's like, imagine being obsessed with like Harry Styles and having a huge crush on him and then actually dating him. That doesn't happen. I feel like to actually be in a relationship with someone, it's kind of more of a cool, like casual thing to get into it. Does that sound insane? It makes sense in my head. Because I guess the sort of crushes that me and my friends have are so funny. They're so like comedically pathetic that then imagining someone actually dating who they've crushed on seems... I would never actually want to date someone I've got a crush on. That would be insane. It would just be a crazy end to... What do you do with all of that? Yuck, no. Okay, let's get into another one. Valentine's Day. Just a cash grab opportunity, but you can't not do anything because the missus compares to friends and workmates, so she'll look like she has a shit partner if she gets nothing. Vicious cycle. I don't know what to do. Cheeky dogs. Okay, now, the most shocking part of this write-in is that it's written by what seems like a straight man or a lesbian, but I don't know any lesbians who write like this. And I know plenty of lesbians as a big-time ally to the queers. So this is the straightest way. You can really tell that that's a straight man. Am I crazy? I can't... Is that an insane... Also, calling someone their missus, and then also just there's a lot of spelling mistakes, so that feels a little bit like straight man, like he's just kind of firing off his thoughts. Also, he also refers to himself, I'm also a cheeky dog, X. The X, maybe it is a lesbian. It's hard to say, but this is written, like if you wrote a book like this, I'm assuming it's from the male perspective. Yeah, look, it is a cash grab. I definitely think it's been completely commercialized. I'm in two minds. I think there's the part of me that I hear everyone being like, well, you should be celebrating every day if you're in love. Yeah, but also people's lives are so busy that realistically people don't actually stop and celebrate every day. And it sounds so fucking lame, but I just listened to this podcast about this doctor something Amen, A-M-E-N, and he's like a brain specialist or something. And he was saying how like people don't actually stop and pay attention to like their partners or like their children, or like he was basically saying like to be a really good parent, all it takes is every day 20 minutes. You just give your kid 20 minutes of completely undivided attention. Like, you don't ask questions, you're not trying to boss them around, you're not trying to get them to do anything, you're just having a chat and you let them pick what they want to do. And this is from like when they're tiny to like whatever age. But I actually see a lot of value, not to get all serious on the pod, even though I already just told you all of the other shit that I went to a fucking doctor for, so we're already in for a penny, in for a pound, which is what I said to my doctor. 120 pennies, may as well get 120 pounds out of this. I do see value in taking a minute or a day to celebrate, kind of like a birthday. It's like you treat your friends good or your family good all the time, but on their birthday, like you might do something they specifically want, go for a specific dinner to a specific place that is their specific taste. I agree that all the like, who wants teddy bear? Like, what are you going to do with a teddy? Don't look around me. I know there's teddy bears in this room, but that's just because my sister's child has to have something to entertain her when she visits me. Let's just say that. Yeah, it is a total cash grab. And then also, yeah, you do feel that comparison culture of like everyone looking around and being like, well, look what he gave, whatever. The funniest today was walking back from the doctor's appointment and seeing all these dudes like carrying around flowers, and they just look fucking miserable. They've just finished like a long shift. Some of them were like tradies, some of them were in like suits, whatever, and they're carrying these flowers and they look utterly miserable. And I'm like, this is so funny. They've just popped into Coles at the end of the day to be like, fuck, I better buy some fucking flowers. It's so funny. To me, Valentine's Day is like a wedding. If you're with a partner who likes it and you like it, then just do it. But also, I'm probably not going to date someone who is like goo goo gaga for a wedding or a Valentine's Day celebration because I don't care about that. So it would be very strange to have that kind of mismatch, like, and I'm sure that exists, but yeah, I don't know. So funny. I just think the funniest part of that write-in is that it seems like a straight man. If you wrote that in and you're listening and you're not a straight man, feel free to message me, but it was penned by a man. Okay, next one. Valentine's Day. Don't hate it. Don't love it. Don't celebrate it. Never dated anyone long enough to have cause to celebrate it. Will probably sit around feeling a bit sorry for myself nonetheless. This is despite the fact that I actively chose to stop dating a year or so ago and am mostly single by choice. I've absolutely no desire to rejoin the dating apps, go on dates regularly, or allow myself to be contacted by countless inane, this is great, inane text conversations that lead nowhere when a date isn't scheduled in less than a week. I refuse to have to give up parts of my daily routine that I value in order to waste time on dates with men who are ultimately mediocre in personality, character, the bedroom, or all of the above. Am I lonely? Fucking oath I am. Just felt like the right moment to use that TBH. Have I actively tried to change that? Nope. Will I? Probably not. I love this person. I don't know who you are, but I love you. I need a partner to magically appear in front of me or it's not going to happen. Yes, I realize I am the problem here as I refuse to do anything to change my situation. But that might be for the best because last time I decided to try and date, I just ended up on a quest for external validation that left me with nothing but self-loathing. Fucking yes. So hard pass. That was a beautiful write-in. I feel every single word of that and I say I'm sorry to hear it that you're feeling that way because I feel that too. So maybe I'm not sorry because there's no sympathy. I don't feel sympathy. I don't feel sadness, rather, not sympathy. I do feel sympathy because I think it is very difficult. We are in this increasingly like online app world and I really think that is making people socially stupid and weak and scared in person because they can get like a dopamine hit from being on their phone at night whilst they doom scroll TikTok and watch shit online, and then they can flip between TikTok and Bumble or Hinge and just get like these quick dings of like a validation when someone matches with you on a dating app, but then you actually go out, leave the house and never talk to anyone. Like I will talk to people, even I'm not even talking in a romantic sense, I will make small talk with people and it is almost like they are confused that I can see them. I'm like, you're not a ghost. You didn't die during COVID and you're a ghost just floating around. You're a real person who has to interact with real humans. Like everyone's social capacity is so low. I really think that they need to like literally teach social skills in high school. If you are a high school teacher or work at a high school and you would want me in Sydney or Melbourne, because those are the closest areas for me, to come and teach a social skills class, I will literally do that. That is how bad social skills are now. And I feel like, yeah, okay, I've got no qualifications other than being like a very sociable person. I feel like if people just taught like a 101 class at high school and university, like it would change the world. I know that is so lame, but I really believe that. Okay, let's just get into the final one. Boring take, but I reckon it's a crock of consumerist shit made by a big chocolate and big flour. If I had a girlfriend, would I still get her a gift? Yes, I am a slave to the system, but I don't. So I hate Valentine's Day. And if that isn't the perfect note to finish on, which is like we all hate something until we're on the inside of it and then we're like, goo goo gaga, we love Valentine's Day and flowers and teddy bears and going out for a fancy dinner and wearing a new dress and like, oh my goodness. So it's like, of course, everyone on the outside is like, what the shit is this? But I think when you're on the inside, love literally changes the brain. Sorry, I don't mean to be all like science today, but I've been listening to some podcasts this last week. I don't know why. I was on a bit of a STEM kick. Science, technology. That's not true. I don't even know what STEM stands for. Anyway, I hope you all had a beautiful Valentine's Day. And by that, I mean Friday the 14th. Whatever you did, I just hope it was a good day for you outside of it being Valentine's Day. I hope you had a good Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And I hope you're going to have a great fucking Tuesday. Thanks for listening. I said a lot of nothing, and I hope that just was enough like noise, mouth noise, brain noise, just to get you through whatever task you're doing, whether it's driving or being on a bus or at the gym. I would scream. If any single one of you has ever listened to or watched a single episode of this in a gym fucking space, message me now. I'll send you $100. That is how much I don't believe that is a possibility. That even though, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Look, if any of you have anything to say about the hair loss, whether it's you're like, because someone told me that rosemary oil, so I'm about to go lube my fucking scalp up with rosemary oil. That's what I'm doing tonight before I go and do a show for Valentine's Day. Because I am also a cuck to corporate consumerism and a slave to the dollar. Right, over now. See ya. Bye.